Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here today, my name is Mandisa and please do subscribe to my channel to join my little yet growing family. And without wasting any time today, let's get straight into the video. So today I'm going to be speaking about everything about my pregnancy. However, the main focus, or rather the highlights of the video, will be my postpartum depression that I'll be speaking more on, and just my postpartum journey basically, and my emotional well-being after I had my first baby. So 2017 I was dating this gent. We had been dating for a year. We started dating in 2016, so we had been dating for a year. I wasn't on any contraceptive and we didn't use protection. So what happened was, we had sex. Obviously we had unprotected sex, and I went to get a morning after, right? Because it wasn't often that he would come inside me. So anyway, I got a morning after, but I took it like at day 3. So I took it literally at the last few hours, let's say, that I could have taken it, because it's 72 hours, right? So I took it like the 3rd day sharp. Anyway, I took it and I got my period thereafter. After getting my period, I went to the doctor and I got a prescription for contraceptives, which is very funny because it was clearly late that time and I was pregnant, but I wasn't aware. So obviously after getting my period after the morning after, I thought, okay, everything is fine. This was around October, I think, somewhere there, October. It was late in the year. Cool. And the following month we broke up. I went home, right? So I started missing my period, let's say in December. So it was holidays and I studied in Bloem, so I came to visit my mom in Johannesburg. So my life in Johannesburg at that time, I only left the house when my mom left the house or my stepdad left the house. So I didn't have friends. I never left the house by myself. I didn't know Joburg like that. I never ever Ubered anyway or whatever, and I couldn't even drive at that time. So I could only go to wherever when I was with my parents, right? So I missed, okay, that part the significance of what I just said will make sense in the next few minutes. All right, so December I missed my period. Okay, so the first time I missed my period, honestly, I wasn't too stressed, because okay, maybe I was stressed, but I wasn't that stressed, because I was like, ah man, morning after, it fucked up my cycle, etc, etc. But then I missed my period the second time and then I was like, okay, shit is going down. My first trimester, the only things that I remember feeling, I was feeling very tired. I slept the whole day. When my parents went to work, I slept the whole day. I would sleep the whole day. I probably only wake up like in the afternoon, quickly clean and start cooking, take a shower, whatever. But I slept a lot. And the other thing, my breasts felt very, what's the word, tender. They felt very tender and they were just big throughout. So I basically had like period boobs, but just for longer. So I missed my period twice. I think that's when I was like, yeah, this can only mean one thing. And I couldn't get a pregnancy test because, yeah, I was always with my mom, or I just never like had the means of leaving the house by myself. Anyway, so I missed my period December. I missed my period in Jan, in Feb as well, I'm sure. So I think from that time I could obviously be like, okay, I'm definitely pregnant. I started dreaming about it, and there was just no other explanation as to why I'm missing my period, basically. So yeah, February came and I finally went back to school, back to Bloem. However, I was staying with my aunt at the time, so she dropped me off at school probably on a Monday or Tuesday, I'm not sure. But the first thing that I did, I walked to the mall. I remember Clicks was even closed that day. It was still closed, I mean, so it was like maybe past 8. But 9 o'clock they opened and I got my pregnancy test. Thereafter, I went to my best friend at the time and I took the pregnancy test. So she read the results and the results were definitely positive, as I knew that they'd be positive. So that day, I think, you know, when you just have a blurry day where there's just, where you just don't understand what's happening in your life, and you're just like, kwenzakalani? Like, is this really my life right now, you know? Sharp. So I was pregnant and I went back to, my aunt came to fetch me, we went home, whatever. Obviously I couldn't really react or be emotional the way that I wanted to be. There was a lot on my mind, like everything was just a mess. 2 days later or so, obviously I now had to find out how far along I am. According to my calculations, I was 3 months, or around 3 months definitely. And then yeah, I went to the doctor 2 days later and he said I was 16 weeks or 15 weeks and a few days, yeah, somewhere there. I was 4 months pregnant essentially. Chab, you know, when you get to the doctors and like, oh my gosh, congratulations, and he checks the baby like, oh my gosh, the baby's so healthy, the what and what, and I'm just like, bro, okay, that's great, but I'm really not trying to hear that right now. This isn't a happy moment. This isn't a, oh, my boyfriend and I have been trying for a baby and I'm finally happy that I'm pregnant. No, I'm not happy that I'm pregnant. I don't want to be pregnant. But anyway, I told my baby daddy, I think I told him like when I took the first pregnancy test with my best friend. So we had broken up like December already, so it was 2 months of us not speaking, and I'm sure he was cold because like, okay, what the fuck, why are you texting me? But yeah, anyway, one thing about him, he never denied the baby or whatever. He was super supportive from day one and he wanted to keep the baby. He really wanted to keep the baby, but I didn't. Okay, so I spoke to my doctor that day and I was like, okay, dude, don't congratulate me. I don't want to keep the baby. And he was just like, okay, but the baby is so big. However, contact Marie Stopes and see what options are available to you. All right, so I did contact Marie Stopes. But before I contacted Marie Stopes, there's a place that I went to downtown Bloem. I went with my best friend, obviously. So hey, you know these dodgy ass clinics. But anyway, we got there and we met some guy in a car, like, because obviously on Google they said no, um they have a offer, yeah, an office whatever in Bloem downtown. So I was like, okay, this seems legit. If they have like a place, then it means like, okay, by legit. We get there and he was driving and he wanted to sell me the pills and J&J, and I'm just like, this is not even right because I'm so far along that I'm supposed to get a surgical abortion. I'm not at a point where I can abort my baby with pills. So the whole thing was just dodging. I was just like, if I'm gonna go through this, then I want to do it with an accredited place, not a dodgy as clinic, you know. Sharp, we canceled that, and then I contacted Maurice Stopes, and the only option I could exercise at the time, sorry, was a surgical abortion. Sharp, okay, I told my baby daddy about this. Obviously, like I said, he was not happy, but I was just like, you know what, I'm not about to do this. I'm not about to be pregnant. I'm not about to be a disgrace to my family. I'm the golden child, you know. I'm the golden child, and I'm just not about I'm not about to have a baby right now. I'm just not doing it. Sharp. So the surgical abortion thing was about 5K. I can't remember the exact amount, but around 5K. And it was also that expensive because I wanted to be sleeping while they're doing it. So it was an extra cost for them to put you under, what is it, anesthesia, anesthetic, I don't know, but that thing. So I didn't have money at the time. My baby daddy didn't have money. I had a fixed deposit account that my mom had. Okay, I don't know if it's a fixed deposit, whatever the hell it was, but I withdrew money from that. But I didn't know that my mom received bank notifications when I withdrew money from that. So she asked me, like, girl, this 4K, what is it for? And obviously I couldn't explain that. I took the money back, and then I borrowed money from a good guy friend of mine. I actually never told him what the money was for, but yeah, I paid him back though, like that time already. But I borrowed 3K from him, and then I took 2K from money for my books, for my textbooks. So I got the money, and we went to Pretoria. The one in the Marie Stopes in Bloem, I think they only deal with abortions like via the pill. So it was either I went to the one in Johannesburg or the one in Pretoria. Sure, I got my appointment, whatever. And I remember the time that I went for my abortion was literally the last week that I could do it. I just can't remember how many weeks it was. I can't remember. But anyway, got the money and I left. I was even writing that day, but I skipped that test. Sharp, it was like a Monday or Tuesday, one of the two. We went to Pretoria, we left at night, we got there in the morning, and obviously went to Marie Strobe. So yo, it was actually a very deep experience, and it's one of those things that I'm glad are just buried very deep down, because I can't really remember too much from that day, or I really can't remember too much from things that made me sad. Or maybe it's also a, isn't memory loss a, okay, let me not get too technical about this, but yeah, I got there and they gave me like a gown, like, you know, when you get to the hospital and they give you those dresses to wear. They gave me one of those, and then they started with a scan. Shop, I went in, and then he started with a scan, and he was like, the baby is big, your baby is big, your baby has a big head, she's big. Okay, I didn't know if it was a girl or boy at that time, but the baby was big. And he told me he can do the abortion, but it's gonna tear my something. I don't know what it's gonna tear, but the day that I want to have a baby, I'm most probably not going to be able to carry a baby full term again. And I was just like, you know what, it's not worth it. You know, as much as I don't want a baby right now, but I don't think it's worth it to have this abortion and deal with those emotional scars, and then still in the future not be able to have a baby. I'm gonna regret it. I know that for a fact. So I was just like, I don't know what's the worst my family can do to me, but I'm already halfway. so I might as well just carry on, you know. So I was relieved. I was just like, okay, I got dressed, whatever. I went to my baby daddy who was waiting for me, go the reception, and I was relieved. I was very relieved that day. And I told him, and I remember the first thing I told him, I was like, we're having a baby. And it's one of the happy moments really that I had during my pregnancy, and one of those moments of relief and excitement. And also, like, my baby was, she was kicking at that time, so it was just gonna be so traumatic for me to go from having this bump, being pregnant, and having all this life in me that I can feel, to leaving, and the life in me will be dead, gone. I don't know what they do with the babies, but yeah, it was just gonna be a very shitty experience. Yeah. But anyway, we went back to Bloom. He told his family. His family was very happy, very excited. I told my mom. I told my mom via WhatsApp though. I definitely wasn't gonna. I didn't think I had the courage to call my mom and tell her such news. Because obviously being pregnant, always still dependent on your family. It's not like, oh hey, we happy, whatever. It's just like, okay, fuck, it's teenage pregnancy basically in my eyes, you know. So yeah, I told my mom, like, hey, there's something that I need to tell you. It's just a pity actually that I don't have those messages anymore, obviously. But I told her, listen, there's something that I have to tell you. And she was like, what? And she actually gave me like 3 options that day, like, okay, what is it, what do you need? Do you need money for this, money for that? And then the third, or the last option, I remember, she was like, are you pregnant? Because you looked bloated the last time that I saw you. And I told her, yes, I'm pregnant, with a sad face. And then she called me like a few minutes thereafter, and she was like, how are you? You know, and I was just like, there's nothing really that I can say because I'm pregnant, and I just have to accept the situation for what it is. So yeah, I told her everything as it happened, and she was just like, no, but why didn't you tell me when you were missing your period? And I was like, dude, how do I go to my mom and be like, oh mom, just so by the way, you know, I've been missing my period. So, you know, that wasn't a conversation that I could have ever started. And I also told her that we went to Pretoria, etc., etc., and she really wasn't happy about that whole attempted abortion thing. But yeah, she was very happy. She was very happy. She just kept on emphasizing how she's gonna be a grandmother, and a child is a blessing from God, you know, the whole story. So my family was happy. I don't want to lie, my family was happy. My family supported me from day one, all of them. There's no one that ever made me feel awkward or weird, or just like, oh my gosh, Mandisa, are you pregnant, whatever. Nah, everyone was, gave me all that they could during that time emotionally. So yeah, I really am thankful for that. And it's just, it's so sad or so deep that I had all the support that I'm sure other people don't get or never got. And there was just so much joy happening around me, but it was so difficult for me to soak in, or be soak in that joy, or be happy about it, because mentally I was just fighting battles with myself every day. Like, I was so unhappy. You know, there were times where, yes, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, and oh my baby, and all of those things. But mentally, I was dying daily. I was just like, I felt so shameful. You know, when they're like, here's a crown, Mandisa, here's your crown. You're a mom. Like, walk down the red carpet. And I'm like, okay, thank you for this crown, but I didn't want this crown right now, and I'm just not happy to be walking down this red carpet. I'm not happy to be pregnant. I'm not happy to have to be a mother right now, you know. So I was like, okay, but ga ke happy, like ke batla go itshuba, you know. That was me, you know. So yeah, I hate my pregnancy. I was actually very happy that I only became big, like big during winter. So I bought hoodies, a whole lot of hoodies, jackets. I was in hoodies 24/7, and thank God that my face didn't also change much, so I could get away with hiding my pregnancy. I just wasn't ready for the world to know that I wasn't ready to share that part of my life with the world. So it just worked best for me to go through it by myself and with my family and my closest friends. But yeah, anyway, I had a very smooth pregnancy. I didn't have any complications or just anything bad. Thank God. I was spoiled as hell during that time. I won't lie, I was super spoiled by everyone around me. And yeah, my 21st came 2018. Yeah, my 21st came July. I was I almost said 9 months pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant when I turned 21, and my mom got me a car for my 21st birthday, which I also didn't feel like I deserved. So my mom always told me, I'm gonna get you a car for your 21st, but obviously it wasn't anything that I expected, because I mean, I'm pregnant, so why would you still wanna spoil me when I feel like I don't deserve it, or you know. But she still did that. And yeah, so just, yeah, besides the car, like there was a whole lot of joy happening around me, but I couldn't enjoy the journey or enjoy all of that, because I just, the whole pregnancy thing just, yo, it it knocked me down. Like it just go down, knocked me the fuck down. But anyway, so it's July. August the 7th came. I was also very stressed because I was like, okay, I need to give birth ASAP. Like I was hoping that I'd actually give birth at like 38 weeks and not 40 weeks. So I'm like, I have to give birth, I have to go back to school. This and like, there was just a lot happening in my mind. But anyway, eventually I gave birth. August the 7th, I gave birth to a bouncing, what do they say, bouncing, healthy, whatever, baby girl. I had a very good giving birth experience. Is that how they put it? But yeah, I've always wanted to experience that whole thing, because you know how people will be like, there's just too many stories around um giving birth, and you know, stuff that happened in movies, which is not how it really happens. So I'm glad that I got to experience the whole pushing thing and everything went super smooth, and I'm very much happy with that experience. So yeah, life began from there. Okay, I think for me, as I've been trying to emphasize that mentally I wasn't in the best space, and that was mainly because of me. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, my baby daddy was treating me badly, or I just had so much stress, or no. However I was feeling was just me at war with myself, and I was just at war here. So anyway, I gave birth, and I think for me, I was depressed throughout the process, but it became worse when my daughter arrived. It definitely became worse. So I'm just gonna be speaking about my postpartum depression. So postpartum depression, as you can hear, it's very much self-explanatory. Sorry, it's depression that occurs after childbirth. I actually took a few screenshots from Google that I just want to share with you guys. Okay, so um, these are 8 symptoms that I got from what's this, from Google, that I can definitely relate to. So number 1 was, well, is rather, your baby blues don't get better. So what do they say? It's common to have a dip in mood during your baby's first 2 weeks. After that, you should feel better, but if you're still sad or even hopeless weeks later and the feelings are growing intense, that's more than the blues. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. You know, obviously, I guess why they're saying 2 weeks is obviously because, I mean, you just gave birth, you know, you're still getting into your new routine as a mom. But if you're feeling sad and hopeless even thereafter, then you're it's a sign to watch out for, and that's definitely how I was feeling. Number 2, sadness or guilt consume your thoughts. Feeling upset once in a while is normal, but if you have frequent crying spells, or you often feel unhappy about being a parent, or you're often down on yourself as a mom, these may be among the first signs of postpartum depression. Yep, I can definitely relate to the fact that I was feeling unhappy about being a parent. This is obviously before my pregnancy, and yeah, probably after as well. And then number 3, you lose interest in things you enjoy. Are you laughing at your favorite romantic comedy? Are you interested in being affectionate with your partner? What about your favorite foods? Are you enjoying them? Are you eating at all? If you said no, talk to your doctor about these changes in mood and habits. I'm not really sure about that point. And then number 4, you have trouble making decisions. Maybe you're too tired to think. Maybe you just don't care. If you can't decide whether or not to get out of bed, take a shower, change your baby's diaper, or take them for a walk, these may be early signs of postpartum depression. Okay. Number 5, you worry you won't be a good mom. This was actually me, like already before pregnancy. So they say, who hasn't worried about this? It's common among moms whose babies are sick or premature, or born with special needs. But if this is not your situation, then having constant doubts about yourself as a mother could mean something else. Okay, and then number 6, your sleep patterns have changed. Of course they have, you have a baby. But if you can't rest when your child is napping or you're sleeping all the time, that's likely something other than a new sleeping pattern. Okay. And then number 7, you've had big stressful changes in your life. Maybe you've been fighting with your partner, or your family isn't helping you care for your baby. Perhaps someone you loved died a short time ago. Stressful events like these can worsen your sadness and trigger postpartum depression. Okay. And then number 8, you think about harming yourself. Thoughts of suicide or hurting yourself or your baby are advanced signs of postpartum depression. Hectic. Okay, I can relate to some of those. I think the one that stood out for my mom, rather, although my story is a bit different, but I don't know. So when I gave birth, I gave birth, and you know they have the whole skin to skin thingy, you know, after giving birth with the mom and the dad and all that. So I gave birth, and I didn't want to hold my baby. When I say I didn't, the first person to hold my baby after she was born is my mother. And my explanation, right, as to the whole thing is they were like busy stitching me up, right? So in my head, I'm like, okay, they're stitching me up. Let them first finish, and then I'll have a moment with my baby. So that's, I guess, what my mom said, like, stood out for her, because she was like, that's one of the signs she saw as a parent or as a health, someone in health. My mom is a nurse, by the way, by profession. So she's like, that's one of the things that stood out for her, that she could see that, okay, I'm not happy, or I'm not okay, rather, me not wanting to be the first to hold my baby, and me not wanting to, not that I didn't want to, just so by the way, but I wasn't quite eager. Let me rather put it that way. So yeah, that happened. But anyway, started breastfeeding and everything, went home, etc, etc. I think I was home for a week, and then thereafter I went back to school. So yeah, I don't even want to get into the details as to how my life was at the time, because it was very hectic. I had school, after school, there was just a lot happening in my life at the time, and I was just like, I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. I had stress. I had academic stress. I had relationship stress. I had motherhood stress. I had life stress, you know. So I wrote and everything. I made it into all my exams, but then I wrote my exams and I failed everything. And that number 8, which says thinking about harming myself, I never thought about harming my baby ever, but harming myself was definitely a big thought. So what happened was I failed all my modules. 2018, I failed the year. I had just given birth, let's say maybe 2 months prior to that, or 3 months, August, September, yeah, let's say 3 months. Also, my breast milk started decreasing, my supply. So I was sad, because I was just like, okay, I used to see my baby every day, I think, for the first month, and then thereafter I would go to school. I had class from, I think, Tuesday to Friday, I'm not sure. I think, yeah, Mondays we rotate, I get sure. But I'd come to Bloom for the week, and then every Friday I'd go home. So whilst I was in Bloom, I would express, pump my milk, put it in the freezer, and then obviously when I'm home, I'd give her the boob. So there was a time where I think I was probably writing at that time, but I didn't go home for like 2 weeks. So I skipped a weekend, and then I went the next one. And thereafter, she didn't want the boob. She was very much used to the bottle, so she stopped wanting the boob. And also my supply was just very low at the time. I was taking some pills though for that, but they didn't help much. So this is now November, and like, that was the lowest I had ever felt in my entire life till this day. I failed the year, and on top of that, I really enjoyed breastfeeding. It was a big thing for me, especially because I was like, okay, it's really hard for me to connect with my baby and step into this role that I have to be in. But through breastfeeding, at least I can somehow try and connect with my baby and just have, you know, those moments with her. So I was just like, you know what, I felt like a big failure. I felt like a failure as a mom and just in life. And I felt like, you know what, why did I even bother going back to school after giving birth if anyway I was gonna fail? I should have rather stayed home, and maybe until now I could have still been breastfeeding my baby, you know. So I wasn't happy at all. And one day I locked myself in my room and I just wanted to die. I was not about to kill myself. I've never tried committing suicide, but that day, yo, I wanted to disappear badly. You know, obviously me being a new mom, I spoke to my family every single day. But that day came, my results came, everything. My head was full of, there was just a lot going on in my head. And I wanted to die, you know. And it's funny because the only pills that I had in my room were the pills I was using for my milk supply. So I was just like, okay, I was on Google, like, what can I use if I drink these pills, so many of them, what will be the effect? And then I'm like, no, but imagine now I'm drinking these pills, now I'm in hospital, you know, I already have a newborn baby, now I must stress my family by wanting to kill myself. Like, you know, do look like, just my thoughts were just all over the place. But I closed my curtains, I put my phone there. I don't know if it was on or off, but I wasn't on my phone, I wasn't taking calls, I wasn't taking nothing. And it was just me and my thoughts, and just me having to fight. I fought that day, as much as it felt like the worst day ever, but mentally I was fighting to be alive. So yeah, I think that was my I won't say suicide attempt, but it was the day where I was this close to doing something. I don't know what, but something. So the next day, remember, I locked myself in my room now. The next day, one of the guys that works where I used to stay came to knock on my room on some, dude, your mom has been looking for you, are you fine, etc., etc. So that's also another sign. My mom was like, girl, she just felt like I killed myself. Okay, not that I killed myself, but she just felt like something was wrong with me that day, etc., etc. And she was right. She was definitely right, because I was not okay that day. And that's the day where I wanted to die badly. But yeah, anyway, I got out of that mess. I told my mom, like, hey, listen, I failed the year, etc., etc. And yeah, she supported me and everything. I went back like the following year and I passed and eventually finished, etc., etc. So yeah, like I really wasn't happy about being pregnant. I was, yo, there was just a lot happening mentally, and it took time for me to see the positive and the good, that okay, listen, I'm a mom. Let me accept that, listen, I'm a mom. Let me accept that, oh, this is my new body. These are my stretch marks, you know. This is, I think that's also another thing. I was just like, fuck, I hate my body. Like, look at all these stretch marks. Like, I felt like my youth was taken away from me, and there was nothing that I could do, and I felt stuck, and I just felt so miserable, you know. And I was just like, I didn't even want to have a baby with this guy. Why must it be this guy? It could have been any other guy. Why him? You know, I was super stressed about a lot of things. So it took time for me to be okay with a lot of things. It took time for me to be like, okay, I'm a mom now, and let me not focus on the bad. You know, let me try and see the beauty of what I'm experiencing right now, and that I'll never get to experience these years again, you know, that I have with my daughter while she's still so small, and while she needs me the most right now, you know. But it took time for me to be happy about being her mom. It took time for me to be like, okay, I'm a mom, and I can shout it out from the top of my lungs without feeling embarrassed or without feeling like my life is over, you know, because it was really just beginning at that time. But anyway, I when was this? I think sometime in December of that year, like maybe 4 months. Not, actually wasn't 4 months, I'm lying. My baby was still very small. I remember I was in Johannesburg at the time. And my mom came to me and she told me, listen, Mandisa, I've been observing you and you're not okay. And she made an appointment for me at a psychiatrist in Pretoria. Funny, actually. But she made an appointment there, and I spoke to the lady. It was actually two people here. It was a psychiatrist and a psychologist. But yeah, I went. Yeah, it was definitely about 2 months or so, because I remember I was still breastfeeding those times. So yeah, they diagnosed me with depression, and I had my sessions. I took my antidepressants for 6 months, and yeah, gradually, like, I became better, you know. So yeah, I just wanted to share my story, because there's definitely I'm not the first or the last that has been through this, and it's not easy, you know, accepting or seeing the beauty of motherhood when you feel like you're not ready for it, or you feel like you don't want it, or maybe you never even did want to be a mom, you know. So I just want to say that it gets better. It gets better with time. That's all I can say. It gets better with time, and whoever is going this, I just want to say, free yourself. Like, free yourself from as much as you can from the mental battles that happen in your head every day, that are caused by yourself, really, because you will make yourself sick. So yeah, I see a lot of things obviously on social media, and I'm jealous, you know, of all these photo shoots and just all the joy and that I see about people and them, how they're enjoying motherhood and just like all those cute things, you know. And I think back and I'm like, yo, my journey is not as cute as this, or is not as happy as other people seem to be, you know, because all you see on social media is, oh no, motherhood and it's so great and what, and the experience isn't the same. Isn't all that good for some of us, or wasn't all that good, you know. But I'm at a better place. I'm definitely at a better place emotionally, and yeah, my daughter is my light. She's my life, and I'm gonna fight hard in this life for myself and for her. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Please do comment. My favorite part of YouTube is honestly the comments, so please don't hesitate to comment my videos ever. I love you guys and catch you in the next video. Bye.